Hello, Scorpio, and welcome to your reading. This is Bright Soul Collective Tarot, and these are going to be your intuitive insights and advice for the month of March 2022. And this reading is for Scorpio Sun, Moon, and Rising. And as always, this reading will be general in nature, so not all of the details that come through will pertain to your situation specifically. So definitely take anything and everything that resonates for you, however that makes sense. Keep an open mind to anything that might be helpful to you throughout the month of March, and simply leave the rest. So Scorpio, I hope that February treated you well and that you're feeling good coming into this new month of March. I've got your 3 oracle cards here, and so we'll get a read of those. We will pull some tarot and some clarifiers and finish off with some affirmations. And I am also going to share with you some channeled messages to begin with before we get into the oracle cards. So those are messages that I actually took time to sit down and channel before I even shuffled or connected with your oracle cards. And so, yep, they might be really specific just to a few of you, so no worries if it doesn't make sense. But if it does, I would be very curious to know. So I'll get started. First off, I have to say, there's something about Scorpio, it's either your guides or your spirit guides, either there are a lot of them or they just have very strong personalities. They're really chatty because I've been finding there's just so much that comes through, and it'll come through in full sentences, full phrases, full ideas. And I don't quite get that for most of the other signs. And some of them are really funny too. And so that could mean yeah, you have a lot of guides, they're just very talkative, or it could mean that they're around you and maybe you don't quite have a connection to them. Maybe they're trying to send you signs and share information with you when you're not in a position to receive it. So they've just got a lot to say to you. I will, yeah, and I actually have a note here, because I channeled these messages yesterday in anticipation of doing the reading this morning, and I put a note, your guides are hilarious. So keep that in mind. The other thing that I noticed when I was grounding myself and preparing to read your energy was I felt this kind of a little bit of pressure in my third eye, right in the middle of my forehead. And then it all kind of released, and it was almost like a whole bunch of congestion in my head around my forehead cleared. And it was just a sense of clarity. So it could be that this month, you might be releasing or have the opportunity to release some third eye blocks to connect a little bit more with your own spirituality, your own knowing, your ability to perceive things that are kind of beyond the world of the physical. So that might make sense to you as the month goes on, or you might already kind of be connecting with that. So I'll start off with your messages. The first one that came through was forget-me-not, like the flower. And it could just be also the sentiment as well. And so, yeah, forget-me-nots are cute little blue flowers, but I didn't really know much about them. So I did a quick Google search. And the other name for forget-me-nots is also scorpion grasses. And scorpion is your sign. So I kind of figure that's a neat little synchronicity. I'm not sure if the flower in particular means something to you. It's also connected with the month of September. So September might have some kind of meaning. And it is also associated with hope, remembrance, funerals, and death. So it also kind of gave me the vibe that it might be connected to someone that you've lost, or maybe an experience of loss. I'm not sure. However that applies to you. The next thing that came through was segregation. And so I get the sense of maybe feeling segregated, maybe feeling as though there are things that are kind of beyond your control, or that are being imposed on you, that are keeping you apart from other people, or keeping you from having certain kinds of experiences, or being able to share in typical kinds of experiences. So that could be something that you're struggling with or you're experiencing, or it could just be a major theme that you're dealing with. Maybe trying to move away from segregation and kind of become more incorporated. The next thing that came through was, it was grace, graceful. So it could be the word, the meaning, the name. And that's the second time that grace has come through for this month's readings. I think the first one was in the Pisces reading. It was grace under pressure. So that kind of connection. I found that to be really interesting that it's come up twice, and it was the name Grace that specifically stood out to me. So it might be, I would be curious to see if maybe you have Pisces in your chart, maybe a Pisces moon or something like that, because that's a kind of like a second appearance of that name and that kind of concept of grace. The next thing that came up was 7 swords. And so I was thinking like that as a tarot reader, that makes sense to me the most in the sense of the 7 of swords. You might have some other connection to the number 7 and swords. That might be something that makes sense to you. But in terms of the 7 of swords, quite often that represents betrayal, deception. Maybe somebody is trying to kind of like, maybe somebody has something that they're kind of shifty that they're doing, that they're trying to keep you from seeing what's really going on. So there might be a feeling of being on guard, be aware of people that, you know, that you kind of feel like maybe you don't trust. Maybe there's something more in terms of their intentions or what's going on underneath the surface. You may be feeling like a little bit more aware of that. That might be an energy that you come into contact with this month. And the next thing that came through was goat therapy. And I don't know what that is. Like a goat therapy, like, I don't know, maybe in terms of a therapy animal, maybe you're someone that has a connection to goats. The other thing that came to mind was, I know that goat yoga is a thing where you can do yoga with like little goats and they'll jump on your back and stuff. So that's interesting. I don't know if that's something that appeals to you. Maybe there's somewhere close to you that you can go and do that if you're interested. It might be a good release for you. I just thought that was cute. And then we got into a whole bunch of like phrases and thoughts that were coming through. So the first one was, my love will always be with you. And so I get the sense that that's somebody's energy towards you. I don't know if maybe you need a little bit of reassurance that you are supported and that you know that the people around you love you, especially if it's someone that you're disconnected from, it's someone that you've lost. And it really goes hand in hand with the sense that like, I feel like this is going to be a deep kind of reading, because I do get the feeling that you've got like a lot of energy around you, like a lot of love and support around you. And it might not be in the physical. It might not be people that you see and interact with every day. It might be in more of like a metaphysical sense. So you might have been feeling that potentially. Maybe that is something that you're aware of, but I thought that was a really nice sentiment. And then the next thing that came through was, some things never change. So you could find yourself kind of in a repetitive cycle with the same type of person, or coming up against the same type of energy. And maybe you're getting to a point where you're kind of releasing yourself of resistance and fighting and trying to change it, maybe coming more into acceptance and recognizing that, you know, there's only so much you can do. And some things, some people just never change. And we just have to do the best that we can when we're dealing with that kind of stubborn energy. Then that's kind of like a confirmation if that's something that you're dealing with. And then the next thing was, why don't you stay a while? And so I don't really know the context of that. It could be, you know, it could be staying with yourself, taking time for yourself. It could be taking time to connect with loved ones, you know, not being in a rush to go and get things done, and allowing yourself to still have like depth of, you know, connection and experience with other people. And because I've been getting such a spiritual kind of vibe from this, it could also be spending time in a place where you feel connected to, you know, your guides or your ancestors, or, you know, if you believe in that and you have a connection to that, or if it's something that interests you, spending time with them. Right? Developing a connection with them. That's kind of the feeling that I got for those of you. That might apply for some of you if that's kind of, if you're into that on a spiritual level, if you've got that level of open-mindedness. The next thing that came through was exit stage left. And I thought that was really weird. That is not something I ever use. I've obviously heard it, but I never really had context for it. So I Googled it, and the top thing that came up is that it seems like it's an old album by Rush from the 80s. So I don't know if that album has significance to you or someone close to you, maybe a specific song on that album. And if not, the actual explanation of it is like an orderly and uneventful departure, so as not to detract or distract. So like in a theatrical sense, it's like making your exit in such a way that people aren't paying attention to you. So it could just be that you're trying to fly under the radar a little bit, trying not to disrupt anyone else's life or attract attention to yourself. Maybe you've got some stuff going on that you're keeping kind of quiet on. Maybe you're uncomfortable with the spotlight being on you, and that's something that you're going to have to kind of adjust to if you do have a tendency to try and stay out of the spotlight. The next thing that came through was for the love of God. And so you might be having some kind of frustration. The people around you might be having some kind of frustration. That might be a phrase that you use quite often. And the other thing is also, because as I keep saying, like, I've had a very strong sense that that you've got a lot of guides and they're very chatty and they want to communicate with you. It could be that they're trying to communicate with you. They're trying to send you signs and synchronicities, and it's just like, you're not getting it, or maybe there are like signs that you're ignoring, or things that you're missing, or things that you're doing over and over again that are just not really aligning with what you want for yourself. And it's like, there might be a certain level of frustration that your guides are like, just like, let us help you, right? The next thing, as I said, your guides are funny. The next thing that came through is wiry old bastard. I have no idea what that is. If there's a person in your life that fits that description or is likely to say something like that, I don't know. I don't know if it was meant in a funny way or a derogatory way, but yeah, that is what it is. If that resonates for you, great. And the final thing that came through was start fresh. And so if you are feeling blocked, if you're feeling stuck or frustrated, or if there's anything that isn't quite working for you, know that you can always start again. And sometimes you need to take a step back from whatever you're doing, get some space from it, connect to yourself, just kind of give yourself the opportunity to detach. And sometimes that's most valuable in helping us come at things from a different perspective, or find renewed inspiration, or a solution to the problem. And so you're always able to start fresh. It's just a matter of giving yourself permission to, and also taking the time that you need for yourself to connect with fresh perspectives, fresh energy, and bring that into whatever it is that you're doing, particularly this month. Okay, so we're going to get into your oracle cards. Let's see. So your first card is Star Mother, and it says, how can you mother yourself? And this came up in, I think, my pick a card reading. So you may have some kind of connection to religion, to Mother Mary, the Virgin Mary, if that makes sense to you. It doesn't have to be, I'm just saying. The next one is breathe. Let's see if I can prop this up. Okay, and finally, Star Family, you're part of a team of souls. Call in support. And so it's kind of fun because these cards really do kind of support the vibe that I was picking up, like, before they even came out. And that like, I feel like there's a lot of energy around you in the world of the unseen, a lot of support, a lot of guides. And with Star Mother being here, this is, it's kind of like twofold. So it is a very maternal, loving energy, the type of energy that kind of, helps ease the load, like take the weight of the world off of your shoulders. It helps you to feel safe and loved and supported and secure, so that you can deal with whatever's going on in your life, whether it's something challenging, whether it's something that you're excited about, whether you've got a lot on your plate or you're overwhelmed, or whatever the case is. It's knowing that not only are you supported in the physical, but maybe that's lacking for you right now, but it's in terms of your guides, there's a lot of support available to you, and it's allowing yourself to trust that not only can you find ways to support yourself and to care for and nurture yourself in the way that you would want a mother to, like to mother yourself, to take care of your inner child and to kind of like ease your fears, but also to connect with that energy that's available to you in the world beyond the physical. If that's something that you are interested in, it seems like it's available to you. There might be a lot of maternal energy around you, like maybe, it might be passed on loved ones or ancestors, something like that. But this is also about if you are the type of person that has a very like caring, mothering, maternal type of energy, if you find yourself being a caregiver and quite often being in a position where you're looking after other people, you're anticipating and taking care of their needs, you're giving them love and support and encouragement, and you're helping, to ease their stress and their fear, it's recognizing that, sure, it's great if that comes naturally to you and that's something wonderful that you can do for others, even if you're not their mother. If you are their mother, wonderful, right? But it's also to recognize that you can do that for yourself and you deserve to do that for yourself, because we can only mother and support other people on the level that we do that for ourselves. So if you consider yourself to be someone who enjoys taking care of other people, it's recognizing that that energy starts with you. And if you can turn some of that energy inward and start taking care of yourself emotionally, physically, spiritually, in the ways that you feel like you are struggling. And sometimes it's difficult, right? Sometimes it's difficult to turn our love and compassion and support inward because we're so used to expressing it outwardly and showing other people that love and care. And so a good practice that I'm going to say for you this month, Pisces, would be to consider whatever situation you're going through, whatever feelings you're up against, whatever kind of constrictions or blocks or even positive things, like whatever's going on in your life that's most meaningful right now. Sit down and take a moment to consider what kind of support and love and encouragement would you lend to another person if they were in your position. So it's kind of like giving yourself the advice that you would give someone else. So detach yourself from your personal experience and treat it as though it's a friend coming to you or a loved one or a child, right? This is also about like inner child. So if you pretend as though yourself as a child is coming to you with certain concerns or certain questions requiring support, what would you say to them? If a friend or family member was looking to you for support or going through something, what words would you have for them? What kind of support would you offer them? And then once you kind of come to that realization, that energy, those skills, those whatever that is, you can turn that inward because you know what it is, right? And then obviously you know yourself better than anyone else. So if there are needs that you have that are unmet, it's what can you do to take care of yourself? What can you do to look after yourself? And it's knowing that you have that natural ability for a reason. You deserve to benefit from it because it's only going to help regenerate and replenish you, to give you the energy that you need to keep on doing what you're doing, but also to support other people. So if supporting and caring for other people is important to you and that is like a big part of your life and something that brings you joy and you take pride in, it's recognizing that you have to be able or you have to be willing to support yourself on that same level and to increase the level of care that you give to yourself. And that is only going to increase what you can give to others. So it's a really lovely card. And then it's also connecting with that energy of being supported by the universe, really. It's like, you're taken care of, and it's easier to connect with that energy in the world of the unseen when you are demonstrating that for yourself, when you're kind of on that frequency, if that makes sense. The next thing that came through with breathe is, you might need some like grounding practices. You might need something like yoga, meditation, breath work. You may be somebody that needs to get out in nature on a regular basis to help you kind of ground and disconnect from all of the chaos, especially if you have a lot going on and a lot on your plate. This is part of your self-care, taking that time for yourself, especially if you've got lots of thoughts, lots of feelings, whatever it is. It's knowing that you are only going to benefit from taking that time for yourself. And this goes hand in hand with that message of start fresh, right? So it's kind of like you can at any time. And the most valuable thing that you can do is just like to take a break, give yourself a break in whatever way you can. And it's not only letting yourself take a break, but it's being intentional about getting the most that you can out of that break, and doing whatever it is that's going to be most valuable and restorative for you, so that you can, it's like, if efficiency is important to you and you've got a lot on your plate and you have a lot that you need to get done, then efficiency is something that you can find even in your self-care, right? So it's being mindful and present, and knowing what it is that's going to help you and what you want to get out of it, and allowing yourself to connect with that. So it's like fully disconnecting from everything else during these times of self-care. And it can also be, if you've got nerves, if there's like stress or pressure or overwhelm, or you feel that you're getting like really tense and really ramped up, it can be about, even if you can't totally step away and take a break from it, it's like, give yourself a moment, right? Even just a minute to focus on your breath. And I will say, something that's really helpful for kind of like self-regulation is box breathing. So that might be something that will be helpful, and it doesn't take very long. You just need like a minute. So if you breathe in for 4 seconds, hold that breath for 4 seconds, breathe out for 4 seconds, and hold for 4 seconds, and you do that repeatedly, even over the course of like a minute or two, sometimes, and it's like breathing deeply into the belly, sometimes that is enough to just kind of help you reset, right? Help reset your nervous system, help you kind of like ground and relax, and kind of dissipate any tension, even the tension that you're holding in your body. So that might be something that is helpful to you. Also, if you've thought about yoga or meditation or breath work, if that's something that's been coming up for you, if it's something that you've done before that you enjoyed, something that's on your mind, this is a confirmation that that's probably a very good practice for you to either look into, or maybe to take up again, maybe goat yoga. And so this is about kind of being able to connect to your inner peace regardless of what is going on around you, and knowing that you always have a safe place that you can retreat to. And it's also encouragement to recognize that, now is a time to kind of just move slowly and to flow through things. So not to be putting a huge amount of pressure on yourself to rush and to push things forward and to get as much done as you can as quickly as possible. That kind of energy is not supported right now. And chances are, if you do have a lot going on, if you've been coming at yourself from a place of like, I need to get this done, and you're carrying a lot of stress and pressure, that anxiety and tension is likely just building and building and building. And if you don't have a release for it, you might just be getting yourself more and more tightly wound as you go. And really, the only thing that's likely to interfere with your productivity and whatever it is that you've got on the go that's most important to you is likely just carrying that tension and trying to rush or push things forward really quickly. So now is a really good time to just be aware, especially if you feel like you're fighting things, like if things are moving slowly, or you feel like you're not doing enough. It's to trust that, there are seasons for everything. There are seasons for working hard. There are seasons for rest. There are seasons for slowing down. And right now you're kind of being encouraged to slow down and really connect with whatever it is that you're doing, because chances are, whatever this is that you feel pressure about, whatever it is that you're trying to push forward or rush to kind of complete or manage, chances are there's a great deal of value that you can experience. Like, there's a lot that it has to offer you if you take the time to really give it the time and attention that it deserves, and to be present and to connect with it, right? So I think that maybe that might be a good way to relieve yourself of some of the pressures, to know like it's really just one step at a time, right? And slow and steady wins the race. So especially if it's a big project, or if it's something long-term that's going to be continuing on, something that's likely to grow and expand, whatever area of your life that makes sense, that this area of focus is kind of like putting a lot of pressure on you, it's like you have to pace yourself, and it's okay to pace yourself. Because if you start out hard and fast and you're pushing and pushing and pushing, if it does continue to grow and expand and the demands get greater, you're not going to be able to sustain that. So this is about playing the long game. Slow and steady wins the race, approaching things in a way that is sustainable for you, that's healthy for you, that allows you to have balance in your life. And when you find yourself falling victim into that mentality where you feel like you have to rush and you have to be pushing forward all the time, it's just taking a moment to sit back and connect with your breath, or to get out in nature, and whatever it is, it's going to help you completely disconnect. And that also will increase your level of conscious awareness in the moment, not only when you're taking a break and taking a moment away, but also in whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish and you're focusing your energy on. And finally, with Star Family coming through, I feel like that was a huge confirmation, at least for me, on what I was picking up on in terms of you having a lot of energies around you. So I'm not sure, like, you might be somebody that does experience a lot of synchronicity or signs and synchronicities. Like maybe there are repeating numbers, maybe there are songs, like signs and symbols that keep coming up. It could be things that you think of and then they appear in your reality. But I kind of get the sense that there's a lot of support around you, and maybe you see it, but you don't think anything of it. But I would be kind of curious this month if you start paying attention to more of those things that you would write off as just like a fun coincidence, or, you know, maybe you don't even pay it that much mind, but maybe start paying attention to what kinds of signs and synchronicities are coming up. What kinds of things strike you as like, oh, I just thought of that and now here it is, or whatever the case may be. Pay attention to what that is and what circumstances it's coming up in, and maybe see if there's something that is trying to be illuminated for you. And it might not be necessarily that there's a specific message that's trying to be conveyed to you. It might also be confirmation for you that like your guides are around, or they're supporting you, or they're helping to kind of validate that you're on the right path. So it's recognizing that there is meaning in those types of things. And that is a way that your guides will communicate with you. Because I do get the sense that you've got a lot of energy that is eager to like connect with you and like help guide you. And so perhaps, yeah, like I said, it could be passed on loved ones. It could be like ancestors, anyone that you have like an energetic connection to. It could be like angels and spirit guides, if you believe in that. So yeah, that's going to be unique to each and every one of you in your own connection to yourself and to spirituality. But I would just keep that in mind. There's something like a butterfly just popped into my mind. Doesn't have to be a monarch. Butterfly was what kind of like came up for me. I don't know. Maybe butterflies might be symbolic to you. Maybe that is a sign of like a passed on loved one. Maybe that's like your guides telling you that you're on the right path, or they're here in your presence, or what, like, I don't know. That might be something to keep in mind. And it doesn't have to be a live butterfly. It could be an image. It could be a charm. Like it could be any kind of depiction of a butterfly. Yeah, that's interesting. Keep that in mind. So this is also saying not to be afraid to call on your guides for support. So this also, just as with the Star Mother card, this also it has two sides to it. So it has like a metaphysical side and like a kind of, grounded, practical, like earthbound side to it as well. So it's recognizing that you do have a lot of love and guidance and support and wisdom available to you from the metaphysical, from your guides, however you want to classify it. And it's just a matter of figuring out how to connect with that, in what ways you're open. Is there something, any specific signs that you feel drawn to? Because we all receive information and interpret it differently, and it's all very unique to us. So yeah, you might have some spiritual gifts that you're kind of sleeping on, and maybe investigating things that are of interest to you might help you connect with that more and maybe develop a connection, and simply asking your guides. And you don't have to know who they are or how you connect to them. But if there's something that you're struggling with, or you feel like particularly vulnerable about, or you need some support on, it's like, ask them. Just say out loud, you know, like guides or spirit, angels, spirits, whatever, however you want to think of them, ancestors, however you want to address them, you know, confide in them. Tell them what's going on. Tell them what you're feeling. Tell them what you're struggling with, and ask for support or guidance. And then just be open to the ways that that might come through, right? Because there's an unlimited number of ways that we can receive support. We can receive validation. We can receive wisdom. Sometimes it'll be a thought or a feeling, like in your gut, like intuition. It could come through in the form of another person saying something to you, something that you read in a book, hear in a song. Like, it could be literally anything. So ask and you shall receive, but you have to ask, because they cannot intervene, really. There's only so much that they can do without you consciously asking for their support. And then this also goes for the people that surround you here on Earth. So it's recognizing that there are certain people that you're going to click with over the course of your life, and they're going to feel familiar, like you've shared similar experiences, or you have a lot in common. It might be someone that when you meet them and as you get to know them, there's a sense of familiarity, like you already have met them before. And it's saying that these are, that it's kind of like your soul family. And there is a reason that you feel that level of connection. And so to start kind of becoming aware of who those people are for you now, currently, who they've been in the past, and to be open to people that you feel that kind of draw to, or like an unexplained connection to, because those are the people who are here on Earth that are probably going to be able to give you the most support, you know, outside of, you know, your direct like friends and family and that kind of stuff. This is kind of like on a different level. And so it's recognizing who those people are and being willing to actually ask for support from them as well, because the people that we connect with on that level, we are here to help and support each other, because we're able to understand each other on a deeper level. And that kind of opens up a new door for the amount of support and love that we can give each other. So you're supported on all levels. So if you're struggling, if you're having a hard time, if you're feeling overwhelmed, if you need some advice or encouragement, don't be afraid to call on the people that you feel the most aligned with. And like I said, on the metaphysical level, like, be open to how that might manifest in your life, because you might not have family that you can ask for support. So it's kind of recognizing that you've got an energetic family that's available to you beyond just your immediate family and relationships. So your first tarot card is the Two of Cups. Your second is the Ten of Pentacles. Oh, these are coming out really quickly. Your third is the Magician. See, this kind of gives me the impression that, yeah, your guides know exactly what they want to say to you. It's kind of like there's no confusion here. Yeah, so if you ever feel like you're surrounded by energies or spirits, or like there's something like more going on than meets the eye, then you're probably right. So pay attention if you do ever get that sense. Yeah, start tuning into that, because it might be kind of interesting where that could take you. And like I said, I did get that sense that there might be some like third eye clearing. So you might be coming into more awareness of things on a more spiritual level. Okay, your final card is the Two of Pentacles. Huh, I like that. Okay, and bottom of the deck is the Chariot. Well, I really like that the Two of Cups came up for your first card, because that's the energy that you are being kind of advised to connect with coming into the month of March. And it's all about love and soul connections and partnerships. So like depth of connection, sharing emotions, it's vulnerability. It's also like joy and love and celebration. But this is a card of partnerships, like usually spiritual partnerships. A lot of times it does pertain to a romantic relationship, but it doesn't have to, because, you know, soulmates we all have more than one soulmate, and they show up in different ways. And, they can be romantic relationships, they can be friendships, they can be family members. Like, there's so many different ways that this kind of manifests. And so it's really, it's really being willing to connect with people on a deeper level. And so it's sharing everything. It's sharing your joy and your happiness, but it's also sharing, the real kind of deep, meaningful life experiences, even the ones that might be challenging. And it's trusting that if you are drawn to a certain person, or you have people like that you feel are in your star family, your soul family, it's that even if you have to be the one to kind of initiate or to share first, it's trusting that people who are on that same level, people who understand where you're coming from, that it will be reciprocated. And so you might need to be the one kind of opening the door and calling in support, asking for help. And that can just be in the form of sharing openly and honestly and giving yourself the opportunity to connect to people on a deeper level. And I think you might be surprised to see how quickly and easily that's reciprocated with the right individuals. And if there's someone that you're not quite sure about, if you try to open up to them and you feel like they're not receiving your energy, then that's just simply a confirmation to you that there's an alignment lacking there. And, it just kind of helps you to hone in on the people that are meant to share this kinds of relationships with you. And this is also kind of feeding into this mothering energy too, because with the Two of Cups, it's about two happy, healthy people coming together. And when I say happy and healthy, I don't mean that your life is easy and you're handling everything perfectly. I mean people who are striving for their health, for their happiness. They're trying to kind of connect with their highest outcome, right? So it's there's a desire there to experience something beyond the usual, beyond the kind of superficial, basic level of interaction and experience of life. But it's difficult for two people to come together in that sense if they're not already there on their own, right? So if somebody is riddled with insecurity and they're not working on healing themselves and treating themselves with love and compassion, then they bring that energy into a relationship. They're less likely to be able to give that kind of love and support to someone else because they're struggling to give it to themselves. And even if they come across somebody who can give it to them, they might not be prepared to receive it. So it's just acknowledging that some people are not going to be, and you don't have to be the pinnacle of this. It's more just finding people who are kind of on your level, or who have the same kind of values and the same level of focus, because you can be working toward healing and growth and all of that awesome stuff and find somebody who's kind of in the same space, so you can have those shared connections. But this is also about treating yourself with that love and kindness and compassion first, doing the work and drawing in those partnerships that are equal and balanced and productive and reciprocal. So this is not going to be somebody that drains you of your energy. It's not going to be somebody who, who takes a lot but doesn't necessarily give, or somebody who is, constantly looking for you to help them but maybe doesn't reciprocate in the same way. This is knowing that you can find people that will bring to a relationship what you bring, right? And maybe even in a different way, so as to open your eyes up to, it's two people who can elevate each other. And that can be in romantic relationships, friendships, within families, that can be a work thing. So it's kind of leaning into that energy and being willing to connect with that. I think that's a really encouraging thing. Coming into the month of March, your challenge this month is showing up as this kind of happily ever after, stable family life. And so it may be heavily, so this is money. This is financial abundance and freedom. It's having the happy home, having a house, a place to live, having the happy, healthy family. So it is the pinnacle of abundance and happiness and kind of everything that you want for your life in the material sense. And so it can be a card of really being focused on money and really being focused on working toward abundance. So it's if you're trying to buy a house, if you're trying to, connect with more material abundance, if you're trying to like save more money, it's like, you know, if you have kids or you're wanting to have more kids and you're really, really focused on setting yourself up for the future, but it's like needing this abundance and needing this like max level of stability and really being focused on it. And so there's nothing wrong with that. And it's amazing to have those goals. And obviously we all want a certain level of stability, especially in partnerships, and especially if we're having family and all of that. And it's like, we want it to be happy and like solid, right? So it could be that either you're focused on this happily ever after in this really, really wonderful, abundant future that you are trying to establish for yourself. It could be that maybe you're just focusing a little bit too heavy on it. Maybe you're putting a little bit too much pressure on yourself. And maybe you're kind of like, maybe you've got your hand in like a bunch of different things, hoping that will bring you to a new level of like financial or material abundance. And it could be like wanting to make as much money as you can, like as quickly as you can, or yeah, maybe just putting pressure on yourself about your financial situation and what that's going to mean for your future. And I don't get the sense that you have financial instability. And I don't get the sense that you're like, I get the sense that you're pretty well provided for, or you're providing for yourself. At least your basic needs are met. Like, I don't get that there's a sense of like lack here at all. It's just like wanting to be able to get to this end place and wanting to do whatever you can now. Because Pentacles is a very focused and hardworking energy. It's a very practical energy. It's being willing to put the work in to get to where you want to go. And so I don't know if maybe that's been like a really huge focus. Maybe it's taking up a little bit too much of your time and attention. It could be disconnecting you from love and like depth of relationships, or taking time for yourself, mothering yourself, like, you know, looking after yourself. So it's like, and maybe you're the one that does all this worrying. Maybe you're the one that feels like it's up to you to be worried about it and to be focused on it and to be putting in the most amount of work. Like, maybe you're the one that needs to try and connect with all these opportunities, or you're the one that needs to be saving, or you're the one that needs to be managing the budget and trying to figure out like what you can do to get to where you want to be. And that's a lot of pressure for one person to carry, if that is the case for you. But it's like, you don't want to be so focused on the future that you're missing out on everything that you do have now, right? So it's kind of like, absolutely, keep working on those goals and working to get to where you want to go. But also take a moment to recognize, like, where are you now? What have you done now? Where did you come from? What kind of work have you put in to get to where you are now? And have you given yourself credit for that? Because it's easy to just be like kind of perpetually focused on the future and wanting to connect with this like happily ever after. But chances are your happily ever after is also now, because you're not just going to get to this one point in life where all of a sudden everything's just fallen into place and everything's perfect. Like, you can obviously, you elevate as you go along, but you know, you can connect with that same happily ever after energy and abundance right now. And it's just by taking the time to connect with what you do have and what you have worked for thus far. And if anything, that'll just motivate you along your path. It might alleviate some of that stress and pressure that you're putting on yourself if you are carrying a lot of weight in this sense. And so your recommended energy to kind of like clear this block is really about connecting with your ability to manifest. So this is saying the Magician has come up a lot this month. I kind of feel like March is going to be a really, really huge month for people kind of realizing that they are capable of connecting with their dreams and taking action to put that into place. So the Magician is basically saying that. So, okay, first off, I want to say the Magician, so with tarot, with the 4 suits of tarot, so we've got wands, cups, swords, and pentacles. The Magician is kind of like the master of all of those suits. So he's kind of figured out like the dark and the light of all of those qualities. He's able to keep them in balance, but he's able to use them all to move forward. So he's taking information from everywhere. He's taking inspiration from everywhere. And he's just like, he's able to kind of like harness that power and keep things in balance. So this is about recognizing that you can have it all, right? You can have it all. You can create that for yourself. You can draw that in. It's also power, like law of attraction and so on. And it's trusting. So you see, like, he's sitting on the ground and then he's kind of working with this vortex of energy. And it's basically saying, like, as a human on the earth plane, like, there's only so much that you can do in the physical world to establish yourself or to impact your environment. But it's recognizing, like, not only do you have the ability to impact your external environment in the physical world, but also like on an energetic level. And in the same way that you can influence people and other energies with your energy, you can draw things to you. And so this has a lot to do with like your emotions and emotional awareness. And so it's like, if abundance is important to you, it's a good idea to kind of connect with any parts of yourself that are blocked from abundance, right? Like it might be perceptions or beliefs that you have about money and ways to make money, or what success is defined by, or your own self-worth, or what you feel is possible in terms of how you can make money and how much money you can make. So it's kind of like being willing to recognize that there might be energetic blocks inside of you that are preventing you from connecting with the very thing you're trying to manifest. And if you can kind of start connecting with that energy, if you start looking at all the abundance that you have right now and realizing how hard you've worked to get there and expressing gratitude and joy and really allowing yourself to enjoy it, naturally that's going to bring more into your life, right? Because that's the energy that you're in, and that is what's going to propel you forward in all the decisions that you make. And so if that's the energy that you're working with and you're putting that out into the universe, it's like inevitably that's going to be drawn back into you. And if you're in a place of lack and stress and worry, that's what you're putting out, and that's what's going to come back. So you are kind of the basis for what it is that you're attracting, and you have more power than you realize, I think, to achieve what you want to achieve. And I think it's about just allowing yourself to connect with that and feel it now. Whatever level of success, whatever level of confidence, whatever level of, abundance that you're longing for, whatever that is for you, start recognizing that in your life right now. Start feeling it, start feeling successful, feeling abundant, and let that drive you. And trust that when you're in that energy and you're taking inspired action, that's all you can do. And then you kind of have to be open to how that unfolds for you and how that's going to return to you, right? And so it really goes nicely with this breathe and just kind of like letting go, like not rushing, not pushing things, because you can't plan it all out, and you're not going to know exactly what it looks like, and you're not going to know exactly what step to take. And if you were to kind of try and plan every single step and have a very clear idea of how to get there, if anything, that's just going to make it difficult for you as you move along your path, because we don't really have that level of control. And then if something doesn't work, then it can be disappointing. And really, it's like slow and steady wins the race, one step at a time. And you kind of just feel your way through it. It's like, I feel like you have a lot of power to bring into your existence whatever it is that you want. And so you might be somebody that is aware of this. Like maybe there are a lot of things in your life that you've manifested already. It could be a job, it could be a relationship, it could be certain experiences, but it might be just as simple as, like, you have to do the work, right? You have to be willing to kind of like put your head down and work for what you want. It doesn't just appear for you, but it's about, if you have ideas and you're able to bring that into your reality, or you're able to follow through, or it's like things happen quickly for you when you decide that you're going to do it, it's recognizing that, yeah, you do have the ability to manifest, and trying to get into that energy where you're not forcing things and you're not carrying a lot of stress and pressure, because that's really just going to interfere with you doing what comes naturally to you. And so, yeah, it's just this trust that you can balance things out, and that what you've got on the inside and what's motivating you to take action now is the energy that's determining kind of like what comes back to you, right? And so if you maybe you research law of attraction if you don't know about it, but it's like you can start experiencing it now, and being in that energy and on that vibration, it's like you're just pulling that thing towards you because it's already yours. It just hasn't shown up in your reality yet. So that's really cool. And then the highest outcome for this month, if you're kind of leaning into this energy, it's bringing things into balance. So this could be like work and play. This could be like family life and professional life. This could be, you know, your emotions and your intuition. So it's kind of like balancing out all areas of your life. So if you feel out of balance in any way, however that shows up for you, and I think you'll know what that is, because if there's something that's important to you that you're not doing, or that you feel like you don't have the time for, or it's like, I just wish I could do this, then that kind of tells you where things are out of balance. And so so it's like you might just need to shake up your routine and start giving yourself permission to connect with the things that feel most important to you, and call on the people around you for support, because maybe that can help lighten your load, or maybe you can delegate a little bit. But it's the opportunity to kind of balance things out, and to know that, you know, we're never done. Our work is never done. We're constantly a work in progress, and balance is a work in progress. We're always going to be kind of fluctuating from one side to the other. It's never going to be perfect straight down the middle. And that's just life, you know? So it's like between difficult experiences and happy experiences, you know, between time for work and time for play, like time to take action, time to rest. There's always going to be, it's like a dance, right? And so it's not judging yourself from fluctuating, and recognizing that that is part of the human experience, and that there are things to be learned from both sides, right? And so it's just kind of, and whatever energy this is that's associated with this happily ever after, and the ways that it's blocking you, or you're feeling blocked around it, it's seeing that, like, to kind of lean into this magician energy, and like, you know, take some time to breathe and just slow down a little bit, that will help you bring things into balance, and it'll probably give you a good foundation to continue moving in whatever direction it is that you're currently heading in, and kind of like whatever you're working with right now. And it's interesting because of the Chariot being here at the bottom of the deck, it's fast movement, right? And it's like having to keep everything in balance to kind of keep your chariot on the track. So it might be like, you know, something that you've decided to do has like manifested really quickly, or started moving forward really quickly. It's been like fast moving energy, and it's like you've been kind of having to find the balance to keep everything moving forward. But it's also about like courage, like the courage to face your fears, the courage to take on the challenge of, you know, keeping things on track for yourself. So it seems like that, yeah, balance is a theme. Okay, so let's get clarification for this Two of Cups. Just quickly, we'll get you a little bit more insight on these cards. I feel like I've already done a pretty deep read, but we'll see. Quick clarification before we get your affirmations. Your clarifiers do not want to come out, my friends. Okay, Two of Cups. We've got Six of Cups. Let's see. I'm most curious about this Ten of Pentacles, I think. Ten of Pentacles, clarified by the Death card. The Magician, clarified by the Three of Cups, which I absolutely love. Okay, and finally, let's see this Two of Pentacles. Oops. Okay. All right, last one. There we go. All right, Two of Pentacles is clarified by the Hangman and the Ten of Pentacles. So that's the second Ten of Pentacles. Wow. Okay, cool. I like this. Okay, so yeah. So with the Two of Swords coming out under the Chariot, which is that fast moving energy, and like, you know, maybe things picking up really quickly. And it's also a card of emotional depth. So it could be like whatever it is that you've got on the go that's really moving forward, that might be causing you to feel a little bit overwhelmed, and like needing to slow down and stop kind of taking on so much. yeah, you might be having like some emotions, like struggling keeping your emotions in balance with everything else that's going on, because that's also kind of reflected in this Two of Cups energy. But with the Two of Swords coming up underneath it, it could be like that you have to make a decision to head in one direction or the other, or maybe it's difficult for you to decide like where to put your time and your focus and your energy, or maybe you're feeling afraid to like, you've been afraid to like make a decision. This is all about really needing to trust your intuition, because you likely don't have all the information available to you that you need to feel confident, or that you needed to feel confident, because this is like the underlying energy. And so it could be like just kind of leaning more into your intuition and recognizing that, you know, taking a path that's more heart based, that's like led by your heart and your intuition, it's going to be right. Like if it feels right to you, regardless of whether it pans out the way that you wanted to, or regardless of if you can see what the end outcome is going to be or how it's all going to unfold, it's like that's the right decision for you. And however that goes, whatever experiences you had, that's what you're meant to kind of go through. And so if you have been struggling with this period of fast movement, it's likely that maybe that's a result of a decision that you made, but that's where you're supposed to be. And this is what you're supposed to be experiencing. So this is all for your highest good, I feel. With the Six of Cups coming up under the Two of Cups, the Six of Cups is kind of like a nostalgic feeling. It could be nostalgia about your childhood, like, you know, how easy and simple and enjoyable things were when you were a child. It might be a desire to reconnect with that kind of childlike, carefree energy, because maybe you're feeling like things are really heavy. This could be an actual child in your life connecting with a child, and that might be a helpful way to connect with your inner child. This can also have to do with healing childhood wound, childhood trauma. And it's also kind of like not getting stuck in the past, because as much as that can be a nostalgic feeling, it can be positive or negative. Like we can have things that have happened to us and shaped us in our childhood that are not particularly great, and that we carry with us as wounds, and that influences, you know, the way that we show up in life and maybe the ways that we limit ourselves. So it's being aware if there's anything from your childhood that might be holding you back and coming up to be healed, maybe related to partnerships or through partnerships. But this is also recognizing like even the positive parts, that you can't necessarily recreate that, but you can still make room for that energy in your life. So it's being willing to take a look back at those experiences from the past, to take whatever is most valuable to you, to appreciate it for what it is, and to use that moving forward. But it's like you can't live there, right? So it's knowing that you kind of have to move on from whatever that is, but you can still have a connection to it. You can still honor what it did for you. And it's like still important, right? To kind of, to have that connection to yourself and your inner child. So that might be big in terms of like your relationships, your partnerships, your connections. With death showing up under the 10 of Pentacles, it could be a loss. Like it could be a loss of a job. It could be like a loss of identity, or like a major identity shift, and that is impacting your perceptions of like yourself, or your ability to connect with abundance and stability. Or it could just be a need to you might need to let your ideas about, you know, financial freedom, financial abundance, what a happy home and a happy family is going to look like. You might have to kind of let the limitations, the perceptions, the beliefs that are creating stress and putting pressure on you, you might have to let those die, or be transformed into something that is more positive, more empowering. So you might need to like shift whatever this is that's causing this to be a block for you, and turn it into something that's going to be unique to you, something that's going to feel good to you, that's going to be empowering. So it's being aware of anything that you might have absorbed through your upbringing, just, you know, societal standards, maybe what was modeled for you when you were a child, maybe the expectations that you've set for yourself in terms of what success looks like. It's whether that really resonates for you on an emotional and intuitive level, and if you really feel like that is what's going to bring you this max level of like emotional satisfaction. So yeah, there might just be some things coming up to be released there, and that will kind of relieve you of that pressure and allow you to move through it, to move through life and connect with that abundance right now, but also in a different way that feels more unique to you. The other cool thing with the Three of Cups showing up under the Magician, the Three of Cups is all about, you know, friendship, community, sharing. It can also be like, you know, celebration and so on. So for that to come up under the Magician, which is basically you harnessing your ability to manifest and you know, flow with things, to take that inspired action, connect with all of the feelings and the experiences that you want to bring into your existence. It's like making room for that in your life right now, connecting with that, visualizing it, feeling it. With that being connected with the Three of Cups, there might be people, you know, in your star family that you can call in for support, because this is sharing. And this right after the Two of Cups. So it's like a deep level of sharing and kinship, you know, love and support, non-judgment. So there might be certain people, in your orbit that, like I said, that you do connect with on a deeper level, or people who have similar kind of approach and values, who can help you disconnect from the fear and the anxiety and like these blocks that you have, and help you to see things from a different perspective, and also kind of lend you that emotional support that you need while you're working through this challenge. Because to be aware of a challenge and to want to overcome it is one thing, but to be able to actually like take steps toward that and integrate that, change is difficult, right? And so a lot of times we do need support, and maybe sometimes people to help us stay on track while we are trying to be patient and trust that things are going to unfold for us. Sometimes it's even having people remind us of everything that we're capable of. Like if we're trying to look back and see all of the work that we've put in and what we've been able to accomplish, it's like somebody who can give you a better perspective of the things that you're blind to yourself. So I think that's really lovely, and it goes really nicely with all of this energy here at the top. And this is also like enjoying. So it's like you might need like a girls' night. You might need a little getaway, like not only taking time for yourself, but taking time for like social interaction where you can really just focus on yourself, focus on your connection to other people, let go of all of the work and the responsibility and the taking care of others, and really just give yourself the opportunity to connect with the support that's going to help you in a way that's meaningful to you. I think that is really empowering. And the other beautiful thing about the Hanged Man and the Ten of Pentacles coming up under this Two of Pentacles, which is the ability this month to start really bringing things into balance and finding your flow and getting into a dance, right? So think about dancing in general. If you're carrying tension and you're stressed and you're anxious and you're feeling self-conscious, you're going to be stiff, right? You're going to be stiff and unnatural when you're dancing. But if you can kind of like connect with the music, get into the flow, if you're not in your head, if you're not putting pressure on yourself, if you're not worried about what you look like, then you get into the flow and everything just kind of, it's enjoyable, right? And so it's basically saying like the things that you've got going on in your life that might be out of balance or that you want to bring into balance, that you can find, it's a dance and you can find that dance. But if you're carrying tension and you're putting pressure on yourself and you're really like you're being really hard on yourself, overworking yourself, or you're setting kind of like unreasonable expectations, or you're prolonging your ability to feel happy and to enjoy right now because you're trying to set that up for your future. It's like you can, if you start connecting with that now, that'll help you manifest, that'll help you bring everything into balance. And that can clear out this like stagnant energy where you feel like things are a little bit stale or a little bit stuck, right? Because the Hanged Man, it's about a period of inaction, like things aren't necessarily moving forward. You're not necessarily, you might feel stuck in an old energy or an old cycle, or maybe you're like tired and worn out. But the whole point of being stuck in that energy or that experience and things not moving forward is you're being given the opportunity to see things from a new perspective. And that new perspective is going to help you move in a direction that's more beneficial to you individually in your own unique sense. So there's an opportunity for kind of like enlightenment, and for the Ten of Pentacles to come out as like the highest possible outcome is it's like, chances are you're going to get a new perspective on whatever your blocks about this happily ever after financial material abundance is. You're going to have a new understanding of what it means to you, a new perspective on how to get there or what's most meaningful to you, how to connect with that energy. And balance that out. So it's like you can bring this into your existence, but if you're doing it from a place of love where you're in the flow and you're allowing yourself to take it one day at a time instead of putting a bunch of pressure on yourself to get there now, or like really focusing on like delayed gratification, like I'll enjoy myself when this is done, or when I've got this much money in the bank, or when we've got this house. So it's basically like you have the opportunity to really balance that out this month. And really start connecting more with yourself. And yeah, it's going to be, I feel like, a more balanced and empowered way to move toward that level of abundance, as opposed to carrying out things in such a way that maybe leaves you feeling drained or disempowered, or, you know, like you're not taking care of yourself. Maybe you've been sacrificing yourself not only for the others around you, but, you know, sacrificing yourself and your time for yourself and your happiness to try and create more stability for yourself and your family or future family. So it's like, you're important too. You deserve to relax. You deserve to rest. You deserve to enjoy yourself. And that will still bring you where you want to go, because it's part of who you are. And the more that you connect with who you are and all of this awesome energy that you've got, the more easily you're going to create this happily ever after, I feel. Okay, we've got, for your affirmations, there's always a solution of the highest good. So I think that goes hand in hand nicely with trusting. You know, trusting that there's a way to work through things, that you're not going to have to sacrifice yourself. And then by spreading loving energy, I attract more love. That goes really nicely with the Two of Cups. It also goes really nicely with what I was saying about the Magician, like what we feel and experience right now, what we take time to value right now impacts our energy, the decisions that we make, and that energy is infused to the way that we move through life, and it brings more of that in. And that goes for everything. So it's not just love, which is all important, like love yourself, love others. That will bring more love into your life, especially, you know, taking care of yourself, connecting with support from your soul family. But also, you know, yeah, not just, sorry, I totally lost my train of thought. It's not just love, but it's also like fulfillment, you know, abundance. It's the more aware that you are and the more willing you are to express it, the more that will come. And that's also the same for like the less desirable emotions and outcomes. So if you're in a place of stress and anxiety, that kind of creates your reality. And if you don't like that energy, then the more you're in it, the more likely that is to show up for you. So it's being aware of your thoughts. When I honor my feelings, I find my power in powerless situations. So yeah, giving yourself a little bit more credit, connecting more with your feelings. Like you don't have to be like just like this tough person who just handles everything and puts their head down and does the hard work, because your feelings are valuable and they are going to empower you not only to live a more heart-centered life and to connect with your intuition, but to be able to handle difficult situations and to feel confident in doing so. It's just like balancing everything out. And then it says, relationships are assignments for optimal growth and healing. So yeah, I think that goes nicely also with this Three of Cups, the Two of Cups, you know, calling in support. It's recognizing that that support is available to you. You absolutely deserve to connect with it. And that the people in our lives are around us for a reason, whether it is to show us a new level of love and support for ourselves, whether it is to challenge us, maybe, you know, overstep boundaries and teach us how to love ourselves better, or, you know, there's a reason for all of it. And so it's recognizing that the people around you, each person is serving a different purpose, and, you know, what do you have to learn from them? And then connecting with the people that you feel most drawn to, who feel most similar to you, and letting yourself kind of experience more of that in your life. But I feel like this is a really lovely month for you, Scorpio. March just seems to be like, and I get the feeling that it's not going to be like really overwhelming, heavy energy, because we don't have a lot of major arcana. We've got like, you know, and the ones that we do have are not super, super heavy, right? It's kind of like, I get the sense of like freedom and like refreshing. And it's kind of like, coming into a deeper level of trust and connection, you know, with yourself, with the universe, and trusting that you are going to get this all under balance, and you're still going to get all the things that you want and that are important to you. It's just like you're going to find your own way there, and a way that allows room for rest and joy and contentment and time for yourself, as opposed to just working really hard and taking care of everyone else all the time. So I think that's really beautiful. I'm very excited for you. Scorpio, I hope you enjoyed this reading. If you did, please feel free to like and leave me a comment on this video. I'd love to hear. If there's anyone that you think might be interested in these readings, you can feel free to share, or, you know, share my channel with them. And if you haven't already, you can head over to my YouTube channel at Bright Soul Collective Tarot and take a look at my other readings, excuse me, and hit subscribe to stay up to date on new videos as they're posted. Excuse me. So Scorpio, it's been a pleasure reading for you. I really love this energy for you. And I hope that March brings you everything that you're looking for. And I very much look forward to reading for you again. And in the meantime, I'm wishing you all the very best.